Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. We are going to be discussing the 1-1 game against Fulham. It was always going to be a tight game. Most of our games against Fulham have always been decided in the 90th minute. The last two games were decided in the 90th minute. It's usually a tough affair. I've seen a lot of overreaction about the game on the TL. Yes, we didn't win. It should have been a win. It was expected that it should have been a win, but it wasn't exactly. It didn't exactly go according to plan. We started very well. The game in the first 20 minutes had around five chances. Cunha had three good chances. One of them he hit the post. The other one was a very good save by Leno. So you can tell the game, the boys were up for it. But as you know, the Fulham crowd were also up for it. It was their first game of the home game of the season, and most teams tend to do well in their first home game of the season. So they were up for it. They kept challenging the game. As the game went on, they grew into the game. And towards the end of the first half, they were actually the better team because they were able to control the midfield. As usual, our midfield is a problem. This is not a new issue because we have always noted that our midfield tends to get overpowered because we don't have the legs in midfield and we don't exactly have the midfielder that Ruben Amorim has been asking about. That game could have gone differently if we took any of the earlier chances, but we still had more chances into the game. There were chances that we kept creating here and there, so it was something that I think that game could easily have been won if only we had played according to the plan that we had. There are so many. Okay, it's okay because some of the decisions that Ruben Amorim take have been questionable, especially starting Mount. Mount had a good game in the first half, but we seem to be lacking a target man. In the last game, Ruben Amorim confirmed and said that we need a striker. The game against Arsenal needed a striker, so I was expecting that he would also start a striker this time, but it wasn't to be. So that was going to be an issue that was going to be an issue that was always going to cause problems, because if we are not going to have a target man, most of the crosses into the box won't find somebody. Yes, Sesko came into the second half, but we didn't provide him much service, and because of that lack of service, he didn't have that much of an impact that he could have had. But by then, the game had already gone in terms of midfield. The momentum had gone in midfield. We weren't getting that many balls. Fulham had started to dominate. They were the crowd were back on them. So they're going to be games where we expect to win, but you can't always win every game. But as a Man United team, you always need to go for the win. But in this case, there are some circumstances where which probably you can look at the Bruno penalty that is guided. So if he scores that penalty, the game takes a different route. You can look at the chances that Cunha had in the first 20 minutes. You can look some other chances later in the game. So I think on the overall, it's a game that probably this was meant to end in a draw for both teams, and I think you can't really begrudge the game because of a draw. The problem is we lost our first game, so it doesn't look good. The optics don't look good. Going into the game, you can see Fulham ended the game with the higher percentage of possession. They had a 56% possession against our 44%. They dominated the other aspects of the game, but the total shots. So we had 10 shots on target. 10 shots. They had to 13 shots. We had almost the same chances created. We all created 9 chances. The shots on target, they had 4 shots on target. We had 3 shots on target. So it was an evenly matched game that had fine margins. The chances that we had in the fine margins, when in such games, when you are on the ascendancy, you need to take your chances. We didn't take them. Look at the penalty. Scoring a penalty changes the game. The first goal in the game changes the game. You look at the mistake that Dalot made. I don't even know what Dalot was trying to do. You can't be spinning with the ball at such a bad, trying to take the ball with a spin, and it's in a very bad area of the pitch. Was just foolish, and it's something that Dalot tends to do a lot. He said he just goes into in sometime in the game, and if he does something that is always surprising, is always shocking. You wonder what was he thinking. So there are also other things that you look at that One of the talking points that has been doing the rounds a lot, the pundits are making a killing out of it, was the Bruno penalty. In one of the incidences is that, well, the referee was trying to get back into position. He disturbed the run up, the routine, the Bruno routine. You see, every single penalty taker has a routine. He probably places the ball down, goes back, and all that time you have a routine that you are thinking of. So Bruno thought that the referee had disturbed that routine in terms of probably got in his head, which is strange because I think he just needed to refocus, go back, change the routine, and it's an unusual penalty. In most cases, penalties from Bruno tend to be calm. He doesn't overhit them. He tried to go for the top post and he overhit it. So it's one of the things that it's a discussion that it will get different views depending on the person you ask. For some professionals like Owen Hargreaves, who was also a penalty taker and a free kick taker, you always have a routine. When you put your the ball down, you go back, and all that time you are focusing on what to do. If that routine is disturbed, sometimes it can be an issue because you probably think Bruno had a change of mind and decided to not go probably for the routine that he went off for and decided to strike through the ball. Uh, he skied it as a result. Everyone knows that. So it's not exactly an issue or an excuse for the case, but uh, it's it's a case that he considered. He was talking about it, saying the referee didn't even apologize, which is neither here nor there. That's not the reason why the game was not won. There were other moments. We are not exactly having good, the lack of the draw. For us, we are having good games. From here and there, you find that we are playing well, but we can't convert the chances. Not that we played well in this game, but we had moments, very big moments, that if you dominate as much as we dominated, creating 3, 4, 5 chances within the first 20 minutes, at least one of them will need to be converted. Because if it is not converted, the other team will get will come into the game, will grow into the game, and they kept getting more confident. Fulham got more confident the more the game went on, and they punished us for it because they got a chance, and Arsenal seems to be Arsenal and their former player seems to be a major issue for us this season. Iwobi put in a very good cross, and Smith Rowe was not tracked. Bruno should have tracked the run of Smith Rowe. By not tracking the run of Smith Rowe had just a tap in from close range. He made a run, then by then it was too late. Nobody saw the run, and he was able to score. So the game ended 1-1, but the reaction has been overly negative. The Ruben Autas probably having the time of their lives. There have been so much against Ruben Amorim. Yes, there are some mistakes. He made one. I think he should have started Sesko. You need to start your striker. You have spent so much on the striker, and in as much as you want to gel him in probably slowly by slowly, he needs to be starting the games now. It's the second. He had as much of a preseason, and he's been consistently in a situation where he can start. If he can play 30 minutes, I think he can play 45, 60 minutes. So you start with your striker, probably win the game, and then take him out. Not even starting him can be a problem because in the Arsenal game, most of the crosses that were being put in, there was nobody to convert them in the middle. So what's the point of putting all those crosses? And when by the time you are putting him in, the game has already changed. Fulham have the ascendancy, the momentum is not with Man United, so it puts Man United at a problem because you are trying to win the game when it's already too late, and many players by that time, some of the players like Mbumo, Cunha, were not exactly making the best decisions they were making at the start of the game. So we need to see Sesko start the next game against Burnley because that's the only way we can find how good he can be. Hopefully, going forward, we'll stop with these experiments where we are using Mount as a striker. He's a good player and he plays well, but he's not a striker. After the substitutions, Mount went back into midfield, and then we had a midfield of Mount and Bruno. That was an error. Both of them playing in midfield. We were dominated from that point on. Mount and Bruno in midfield are not exactly the pairing you would expect in such a game, especially away from home. It took another 20 minutes that was wasted before Ruben Amorim realized it couldn't work, so he had to take Mount out and put in Ogate. Unfortunately, Ugarte doesn't exactly give you the control in midfield. He makes some tackles here. He stops some balls from reaching the Fulham attack, but he doesn't exactly give you the control you need in midfield. By then, Bruno was all around, all over. He was going all over, trying to. His head has gone. His head had gone. The game had not gone his way. He probably still kept thinking about the penalty that he missed. So he wasn't exactly having the impact you'd expect. One of the surprising things is that I expected Mino to be given game time. It's surprising how he's not getting game time. Some of these games he thrives in them, probably comes in, changes the game, or even starts because most of the people in midfield are dropping stinkers, and I don't think Mino can be any worse than what we have seen in the last two performances, especially when Bruno is clearly a 10 and is being played in the 8 position, and he doesn't have that positional awareness to play in the 8. He keeps getting out of position, which gives the midfield partner a lot of work. In fact, uh, the Marco Silva commented about it, said they play a two in midfield, so he knew he just had to put 3 players in that midfield, and the midfield would be overpowered. And it was clear because they got possession towards the end of the game. Had the better. They had the better chances, the better control of the midfield, and it's something that really needs to be looked at. Yes, Ruben Amorim has not found the keeper that he needs, has not found the midfielder that he needs to be able to play in midfield, but that's not exactly the excuse we should give him. There was enough in that midfield to win this game if only he had played probably Ugarte and Mainu, or play anything but Bruno in that midfield today was out of place, and we need to start discussing about replacing substituting Bruno. We can't always play all the games 90 minutes even when he's having a bad game, because by then we're just hoping that he has one of those moments where he scores and he wins the game, but 20 minutes 30 minutes goes by while we're trying to wait for that, when you can impact the game by putting in the players who can change the game. So that's going to be an issue. There was also an issue of the goalkeeper, Bainde. He didn't exactly concede, he make an error, but you could tell every single corner, every single set piece that came in, he looked scared. He wasn't commanding the box. Every single corner seemed to be like it would go into goal. He kept making this rushed coming out in a rushed way, and it wasn't really helping the defense. So it was chaos with every set piece. I think every team from now on will probably look at Baindi and think we can put in an in swinger or an out swinger so that he comes for the ball, and he comes out of goal, and because they can score, because there was chances there that they could have scored. There was a very good chance by Basi that he missed. If he scores that, then that's another way the game goes, because we see this team that drops their head every time there's a chance against them, every time there's a goal scored against them. So it's something that needs to be worked on. So from now on, we have a few days remaining for the transfer window. Hopefully, we can get in the Laments and also a midfielder. That team really needs a midfielder, defensive midfielder, very good midfielder. In fact, every decent good defensive midfielder can work. You looked at how Sander Berge kept dominating, controlling the game. He had a very good time because he knows in that midfield is not combative enough. So he kept controlling the game at ease, and that can't be a Man United midfield because games will be won in midfield. So hopefully, let's see what this week brings, and we can be able to probably progress. The game against Grimsby should be a must win. That's not a game that we need to, in as much as some of those games are difficult, we need to find a way to win it so that we can start our season. We can kickstart our season and probably build confidence going into the Burnley game, and we win that one. We go into the international window, and it's a different case. So hopefully, we can kick on from here and we stop these experiments. Sechko should start. We should have a good midfielder. The case where if Bruno is not performing, he also needs to be substituted, because we can't keep on waiting for him to figure out how to play the 8, because he keeps getting out of position.